Hello my friends and welcome to my last design team project for Aall Create this term, and you will find links to the stamps I used in the description box below. I don't know what will happen with Aall Create in the future, but I know this fall will be fun and creative. So today we're using stamps by Tracy Evans, starting with this beautiful butterfly called Glide, number 734. Then one of my favorite stamp set called Up, Up and Away, number 467, and this beautiful flower set called Thinking of You, number 715, and finally Garden Mashup, number 663. So, now that we have today's lineup, we're doing some stamping. I stamped the flowers, the hot air balloon, the animals and the butterfly in VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a waterproof ink. Today I'm coloring with my SIG Clean Color Real Brush markers, and for this flower I'm using 4 shades from bright yellow to orange and a light red. This time I'm coloring from the darkest color to the lightest, because I want shading where the leaves meet and at the base, and then I continue with orange and 2 shades of yellow, and at the end I use water on a brush to drag the color out towards the tip of each petal. I use 3 shades of brown for the stem, and then I start coloring my next flower the same way. I color many more flowers than I can show, and I use those colors because I want the flowers to pop against the background I already have in mind. I don't know what kind of flowers I'm coloring, but sometimes that's a good thing, because there are no limitations when it comes to color choice. I want these smaller flowers to be a fresh contrast to the other images, so I use 3 shades of green, coloring lightest to darkest, concentrating the color at the center of the flowers and blending out to white with water. This time I'm only using and coloring the basket to the hot air balloon, and I used the same brown markers as I did on the flower stems. For the little birds from the Up, Up and Away set, I'm using 3 shades of pink, and true to form, I'm of course coloring a whole bunch of birds. I am going to add dimension to the butterfly by paper piecing the smaller wings and body, but first I color the butterfly with the same yellow, orange and red markers as I used on the flowers. For the accessories on the animals, I used the SIG markers in 3 shades of green, but for the foxes and bunny, I have a favorite distress ink combo, so I bring out Vintage Photo, Rusty Hinge and Scattered Straw, and start with the darkest Vintage Photo, mapping out my darker areas and moving on to Rusty Hinge, before I blend out harsh lines with Scattered Straw. For the bunny I use a little vintage photo just to give him dimension, and then I blend that out with scattered straw. So, Aall Create has a challenge called a Tringy challenge. A Tringy is short for 3 by 3 inches, and you make one 3 by 3 inch card for each day of the month. I could not commit to it, but I wanted to show my take on the Tringies. So I cut 9 squares, 3 by 3 inches, and put them together on washi tape. So I have one 9 by 9 page, or 9 separate Tringies. To make this inky background, I have a few spray inks. I have Dylusions ink sprays in crushed grapes and vibrant turquoise, Dylusions shimmer spray in crushed grapes and blue lagoon, and a distress oxide spray in salvage patina. I spray heavily with water first, and then the sprays from the lightest to the darkest, and then the shimmer sprays on top, and then salvage patina again to bring that chalky light blue back after all those dark inks, and I let it dry overnight. Now let's paper piece that butterfly, and my first move isn't something that is easily seen, but I know it's there. I cut out the black parts of the wings and glue them on top of my main image. I put a mini 3D foam square behind the smaller sets of wings and glue them on top of my butterfly. And then I do the same with the body, put a thin 3D foam square behind it and glue it down as my last layer. I glue one of my foxes standing in the basket, and then I glue my butterfly in place instead of the hot air balloon. I cut off the lower part of the bunny and glue it popping up from its hat. Next, something I always do, I use black soot archival ink to darken the edges and frame our scene. Now let's use that garden mashup stamp set to add interest and texture. I put it on an acrylic block and bring out Ranger's black embossing powder. I mask off the middle with torn papers because I want this stamp to frame the background without harsh lines, and I continue along the top of the page and down the left side, coating the stamped letters with black embossing powder and melting it. I lost some footage, but I hope this makes sense anyway. So let's start putting this page or 9 squares together, and by now many of you recognize this design. I have done one similar before, but I wanted to try to remake it in a new way. I start gluing down those yellow, orange and red flowers, starting high up on the right side and adding many flowers, both there and along the bottom of the page. After a while, I start mixing in those fresh green flowers as well. Here and there I have to cover up a beautiful flower, but I want what I want, and sometimes I don't realize it until I'm there. So I can know where to continue gluing flowers, I glue down that basket with the fox and the butterfly taking her for a ride. I use scissors to cut off anything hanging off the edge of my page. Next, I glue down that amazing little fox and the bunny popping up from his hat. And then I start gluing down pink birds, and I have many birds that I place here and there all over my page. The last thing I do before I start cutting this page into 9 trenches is to add the sentiment up, up and away in white on a black strip of cardstock. I cut this page into 9 pieces, but some things, like the butterfly, was too hard to cut apart, so I let some small elements hang off some of the squares. And now, this Aall Create mixed media trenchy page is finished. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have the time, I would love to know if you prefer this project as a page or in 9 pieces. Until the next time, happy crafting!